Imagine opening a book that no one on Earth can read. Not linguists, not historians, not even the most advanced artificial intelligence. A book written more than 600 years ago, filled with strange plants that don't exist. Circular star charts that don't match known constellations. This is not fiction. This is the mystery of the Voynich Manuscript. For centuries, it has resisted every attempt at translation. It has been called the world's most mysterious book, an unbreakable code, a medieval hoax, a lost scientific encyclopedia, even an alien document. But what is it really? Tonight, we begin our journey into the most unreadable book ever written. The manuscript resurfaced in 1912. A rare book dealer named Wilfrid Voynich purchased it from a Jesuit college in Italy. Inside its pages was something extraordinary. The text was written in an unknown script, flowing, consistent, structured. It didn't look random. It looked deliberate, carefully written. Repeated symbols suggested grammar. Paragraphs flowed logically. Margins were clean. This wasn't chaotic scribbling. It was a book someone intended to be read, but read by whom? Carbon dating would later reveal that the parchment dates to the early 1400s. That means the manuscript was created during the late Middle Ages, around the same time as early Renaissance thinkers were reshaping Europe. But no known language matches the script. No cipher key has been found, and no marginal notes offer clues. It simply exists, silent. The book is divided into strange sections. The herbal section, pages filled with plants. But here's the problem. Most of the plants don't match known species. Some appear to be hybrids, roots from one plant, leaves from another. Were they symbolic, medicinal, imaginary, or intentionally disguised? The astronomical section. Circular diagrams resembling zodiac wheels. Recognizable signs like Pisces and Sagittarius appear, but surrounding them are unfamiliar symbols. Was this astrology or coded cosmology? The biological section. Perhaps the strangest of all, some researchers suggest anatomical diagrams. Others believe they represent alchemical transformation. Some argue they depict medieval medical theories about fertility or the human body. But again, the text explaining them is unreadable. We see the pictures, but we don't understand the story. If it's a code, surely someone would have cracked it by now. During World War II, elite cryptographers examined the manuscript. These were the same types of minds who broke enemy military codes. Yet they failed. Modern linguists have applied statistical analysis. The text shows patterns consistent with real language. Word repetition, structure distribution, internal consistency. It follows something similar to Zipf's law, a statistical rule common in natural languages. That suggests it's not random nonsense. But if it's a language, why doesn't it match any known linguistic family? AI models have attempted pattern matching. Some results hint it could resemble a Romance language written in an invented script. But no full translation has emerged. It remains just beyond reach. Could it be an elaborate medieval prank? Some believe the manuscript was created to fool wealthy collectors. There were rumors it once belonged to Rudolf II, who allegedly purchased strange occult manuscripts. Was it sold as a mystical artifact? But here is the problem with the hoax theory. Creating a fake language that statistically behaves like a real one is extraordinarily difficult, especially in the 1400s. Without computers, without modern linguistic knowledge. Why invest years creating a meaningless but internally consistent text? And why illustrate hundreds of detailed drawings to support it? The effort seems enormous. Too enormous for a simple scam. Another possibility. The manuscript records a real language that no longer exists. History is full of lost languages. Civilizations rise, they fall, their scripts vanish. What if this is one of them? Some researchers suggest it may be a constructed language, like a medieval attempt at creating a universal script. Others speculate it could encode knowledge meant to remain hidden. Perhaps medical knowledge reserved for a secret group. Perhaps knowledge considered dangerous. Or perhaps knowledge that simply became obsolete and forgotten. The Voynich manuscript forces us to confront something uncomfortable. We do not know everything about our past. There are gaps, voids, blind spots. A 600-year-old book sits in a library today, filled with text no human can confidently read. That fact alone is astonishing, not because it proves aliens, not because it confirms magic, but because it reminds us history still has secrets, and some of them are hiding in plain sight. During World War II, the world's greatest codebreakers cracked encrypted Nazi communications. They deciphered machines thought to be unbreakable. They shortened the war. They changed history, but there was one code they could not defeat. A book written in the 1400s, a manuscript filled with looping symbols and strange diagrams. A text that refuses to yield. This is the continuing mystery of the Voynich Manuscript, if it is a cipher. It may be the most sophisticated pre-modern encryption ever created. If it is not, then what exactly are we looking at? Tonight, we enter the battlefield between cryptographers and a 600-year-old book. And so far, the book is winning. After its rediscovery by Wilfrid Voynich in 1912, scholars immediately suspected a cipher. The script looked too structured to be meaningless. Words repeat. Paragraphs follow consistent formatting. Symbols recur in patterned positions. It resembles language. Early cryptanalysts tried simple substitution methods. Replace each strange symbol with a Latin letter. Nothing coherent emerged. They tried frequency analysis. Still nothing. If it was encrypted, it wasn't using a simple medieval code. It was something far more complex. In the 1940s, professional cryptographers, some who had worked on breaking military codes, examined the manuscript. Among them was William Friedman, a legendary American cryptanalyst. Friedman approached the manuscript methodically. He ruled out simple monoalphabetic substitution. He ruled out basic polyalphabetic systems. The text did not behave like known ciphers of the 15th century. Yet it also did not behave like random gibberish. Statistical tests revealed something fascinating. The word frequency distribution closely matches natural human languages. Common words appear often. Rare words appear rarely. This follows a principle called Zipf's law. Random text does not follow this rule. Gibberish does not follow this rule. But the Voynich text does. So if it isn't nonsense, why can't we read it? There are two major possibilities. 1. It is a real language written in an unknown script. 2. It is a known language encrypted through an advanced cipher. Let's examine both. Possibility 1. A lost language. Could this represent a language that no longer exists? History has lost many tongues. Entire civilizations vanished without leaving bilingual dictionaries. But usually, even lost languages leave clues, loan words, fragments, inscriptions elsewhere. The Voynich script appears nowhere else in history. It is isolated, unique, that is unusual. Possibility 2. A complex cipher. If encrypted, the cipher would need to preserve natural language statistical patterns, mask underlying vocabulary, resist frequency analysis. This suggests a highly sophisticated encryption system. But in the early 1400s, cryptography was relatively simple. Most known ciphers were substitution-based. The level of complexity needed to produce the Voynich text would be centuries ahead of its time, unless the creator was exceptionally brilliant. In the late 20th and early 21st centuries, computers joined the effort. Algorithms scanned the manuscript. Machine learning models analyzed symbol clusters. Some researchers proposed that the text may encode a Romance language, possibly an early form of Italian or Spanish written without vowels. Others suggested Hebrew origins. A 2018 AI study claimed partial resemblance to Hebrew anagrams, but the results were inconsistent. No translation has survived peer review. More recently, computational linguists discovered the manuscript has positional word patterns. Certain words appear only at the beginnings of lines. Others cluster in specific sections. That suggests internal logic, structure, intent. But structure alone does not equal meaning. Even a carefully designed fake language can show structure. And that brings us to a disturbing possibility. What if the manuscript was generated using a mechanical text creation method? Some researchers proposed something radical. The author may have used a template-based system. Take a root word, add small variations, repeat with subtle modifications. The result would look like language. It would follow statistical rules, but it would mean nothing. A brilliant illusion. But again, why? Creating over 200 pages of detailed illustrations and consistent script would require immense effort. Why construct an elaborate linguistic mirage? To deceive a patron? To sell to an emperor like Rudolph II? Perhaps. But no direct proof confirms that transaction. And the parchment itself dates to the early 1400s, long before Rudolph II lived. So if it was a hoax, it predates the alleged buyer. Which complicates the theory. Most encrypted texts are solved because we know something about them. The language family, the author, the historical context, the subject matter. With the Voynich Manuscript, we know almost nothing. No confirmed author, no confirmed language, no confirmed region, no confirmed purpose. It is like trying to solve a puzzle without knowing what the picture should look like. And perhaps that is why it survives. It sits at the intersection of language, art, science, and secrecy. Too structured to dismiss, too obscure to decode. For over a century, brilliant minds have attempted to break the Voynich Manuscript. They have applied wartime cryptography, mathematics, artificial intelligence, and still, no definitive answer. Which raises a haunting possibility. Maybe we are asking the wrong question. Maybe the manuscript was never meant to be decoded in the conventional sense. In episode 3, we move away from cryptography and into symbolism. Because perhaps the key isn't in the text at all, but in the images, the plants, the stars, the strange bathing figures. What if the illustrations tell the story the words refuse to reveal? The mystery continues. If you can't read the words, read the pictures. Inside the Voynich Manuscript, the illustrations may be the real key. Strange plants that don't exist. Circular star maps filled with zodiac symbols. Nude women bathing in green liquid, connected by intricate tubes. It doesn't look like a novel. It doesn't look like scripture. It doesn't look like ordinary science. It looks symbolic, esoteric, possibly dangerous. Tonight, we stop trying to crack the text. Instead, we ask a different question. What story are the images telling? The largest section of the manuscript is often called the herbal section. Nearly every page displays a plant, roots, leaves, flowers, carefully illustrated. But botanists face an immediate problem. Most of these plants do not match any known species. Some resemble real plants, but with altered roots. Others appear like hybrid leaves from one species, flowers from another. Why create plants that don't exist? There are several possibilities. 1. Symbolic plants. Medieval herbals often blended symbolism with medicine. A plant might represent healing, purification, or transformation. 2. Disguised knowledge. If the manuscript contained restricted medical knowledge, disguising plants could protect secrets. 3. Alchemical ingredients. Alchemy often used coded botanical imagery to represent stages of transformation, which leads us to the next possibility. In the 15th century, alchemy was not just about turning lead into gold. It was a philosophical system, a spiritual science, a process of transformation both physical and internal. Alchemical manuscripts often contain symbolic diagrams, circular illustrations, hidden meanings, encoded metaphors. Some researchers believe the Voynich manuscript may be an alchemical text, disguised as a herbal. The strange plants could represent stages of chemical transformation. The green liquids could symbolize life force or purification. The circular diagrams might represent cosmic cycles. In alchemy, knowledge was intentionally hidden. Symbols replaced direct explanation. If that is the case, perhaps the manuscript was never meant to be easily read. It was meant to be understood only by initiates. The manuscript includes elaborate astronomical diagrams, circular charts divided into segments, recognizable zodiac signs Pisces, Taurus, Sagittarius, but they are unusual. Women appear inside the zodiac wheels. Stars cluster in patterns not identical to known constellations. In the medieval world, astrology was not superstition. It was science. Medical treatments were timed according to planetary positions. Bloodletting was scheduled by lunar cycles. What if the Voynich manuscript is a medical astrological guide? A manual connecting herbs to zodiac signs? A calendar of healing practices based on celestial alignment? The repetition of zodiac cycles suggests intentional structure. It is not random decoration. It reflects a worldview where the heavens influence the human body. Perhaps the most mysterious images appear in what scholars call the biological section. Nude women immersed in green liquid, connected by tubes and flowing channels. At first glance, it seems bizarre, but context matters. In medieval Europe, bathing imagery often symbolized fertility, purification, healing, regeneration. Some researchers propose that these images represent the female reproductive system abstractly illustrated. Others suggest they depict medicinal baths or therapeutic rituals. The tube's connecting pools may symbolize bodily systems, or alchemical circulation, or even early anatomical imagination. What stands out most is this: the women are not eroticized. They appear clinical, functional, part of a process. This suggests the manuscript may focus on women's health or fertility, and that possibility is significant, because medieval medical texts about women were rare and often guarded. During the 1400s, knowledge could be dangerous. Heretical ideas were punished, medical experimentation was controversial. Alchemy existed in a gray area between science and suspicion. If someone possessed unconventional knowledge, especially about medicine or the body, they might encode it, hide it in symbols, invent a script, not to deceive, but to protect. Perhaps the Voynich Manuscript is not nonsense. Perhaps it is privacy, a book written in a private language to preserve specialized knowledge. Knowledge intended only for a small circle, and lost when that circle disappeared. A growing theory suggests something radical. What if the manuscript was created by or for women? The emphasis on bathing figures, the potential focus on fertility, the herbal knowledge. Women were often healers, midwives, herbalists, but their knowledge was rarely formally recorded. If a woman or a small female medical community created this manuscript, encoding it could protect them from scrutiny. This theory remains speculative, but it reframes the mystery, not as alien, not as hoax, but as marginalized knowledge. The images in the Voynich manuscript are not chaotic. They are structured: the plants, the stars, the bathing figures. They form categories, systems, and internal logic we have not yet fully grasped. Perhaps the key to the manuscript isn't cracking the code. Perhaps it's understanding the worldview behind it. In episode 4, we confront the most controversial question yet. Was this entire manuscript an elaborate deception? A masterpiece of illusion? Or one of the greatest intellectual achievements of the medieval world? The mystery deepens. What if the greatest unsolved manuscript in history means absolutely nothing? What if the mysterious plants, the zodiac wheels, the bathing women, and the flowing script are not encoded wisdom, but an elaborate illusion? For over a century, scholars have debated whether the Voynich manuscript is a lost treasure of knowledge, or the most brilliant hoax ever created. Tonight, we confront the most uncomfortable possibility of all. Have we been chasing meaning where none exists? The hoax theory gained momentum in the 20th century. The reasoning was simple: no one can read it, no translation has succeeded, no confirmed language matches it, therefore, maybe there is nothing to translate. Some scholars suggested the manuscript was created to deceive wealthy collectors. During the Renaissance, rare and mysterious books were prized possessions. One rumored owner was Rudolf II, a ruler fascinated by alchemy, astrology, and the occult. Legend claims he may have paid a fortune for the manuscript. If true, it would make the manuscript a successful con. But here's the complication. Carbon dating places the parchment in the early 1400s. Rudolf II lived in the late 1500s. If it was a hoax designed to fool him, it would have had to survive for over a century before reaching his court. That suggests long-term planning or coincidence. Creating a fake script is easy. Creating a fake language is not. The Voynich text follows statistical patterns similar to real languages. Word frequencies behave naturally. Certain symbols cluster at the beginnings or ends of words. There are structural consistencies across hundreds of pages. To fake this convincingly in the 1400s would require deep intuitive understanding of linguistic structure, extraordinary patience, meticulous consistency, and for what? Financial gain? Intellectual amusement? Or something more personal? Some researchers propose that the author used a mechanical method to generate text recombining word fragments in patterned ways. This could produce language-like statistics without actual meaning, a brilliant illusion. But would someone in the medieval period possess both the time and motivation to produce over 200 pages of meaningless but structured text? It would be one of the most ambitious artistic deceptions in history. One early theory attributed the manuscript to Roger Bacon, a medieval scholar known for experimental thinking. But Bacon lived in the 1200s, over a century before carbon dating places the manuscript's creation. Still, the Bacon theory reflects something important. People want the manuscript to belong to a genius, a visionary ahead of their time, a mind capable of inventing a private language, because if it's not a hoax, then it must be brilliance. But brilliance of what kind? Scientific? Philosophical? Artistic? Let's consider the physical effort involved. The manuscript contains over 200 pages, detailed botanical drawings, complex circular diagrams, consistent handwriting throughout. Parchment was expensive. Ink preparation required skill. Illustration demanded training. This was not a casual notebook. It was a serious undertaking. If it were a hoax, it was not cheap. And it was not quick. Which raises a difficult question. Why invest such effort in something meaningless? Even Renaissance forgers typically copied real texts or altered known works. Inventing an entirely new language and filling a book with it goes far beyond typical deception. Unless the deception itself was the point. Another possibility, what if the manuscript is not a hoax but an experiment? A constructed language created as intellectual exploration. Medieval scholars sometimes attempted universal languages. Systems meant to organize knowledge logically. The Voynich script may represent such an attempt. Not meant to deceive, not meant to encode secrets, but meant to explore how language itself works. If that's true, the manuscript becomes revolutionary. A 15th century experiment in linguistic centuries before modern constructed languages. But again, no external documentation confirms this. We have only the object itself. And its silence. The longer a mystery remains unsolved, the more meaning we attach to it. Humans are uncomfortable with ambiguity. We prefer answers, even speculative ones, over uncertainty. The Voynich manuscript challenges that instinct. If it's a hoax, it may be the greatest literary prank ever executed. If it's genuine, it may represent lost knowledge we cannot recover. Either way, the mystery persists because it resists closure. And perhaps that resistance is the true power of the manuscript. Genius hoax, medieval masterpiece, forgotten science, private experiment. Each theory says as much about us as it does about the manuscript. We want it to be profound. We want it to be meaningful. We want it to reveal something extraordinary. But what if its greatest lesson is simpler? That knowledge can be lost, that meaning can vanish, that history is fragile. In our final episode, we explore the most modern interpretations yet, artificial intelligence, linguistic modeling, and the possibility that the manuscript may finally be close to surrendering its secrets, or proving once and for all that some mysteries endure because they were never meant to be solved. For more than 600 years, a single book has resisted every attempt to understand it. It survived empires, it survived wars, it survived revolutions in science and language. And now, in the age of artificial intelligence, we ask one final question. Will we ever read the Voynich manuscript? Or is its mystery the very reason it still exists? Tonight, we explore the most modern theories, the most advanced technologies, and the final possibilities surrounding the most unreadable manuscript in history. For centuries, decoding attempts relied on human intuition. But the 21st century brought something new: machine learning, computational linguistics, pattern recognition at a scale no human could match. Researchers fed high-resolution scans of the manuscript into AI systems. Algorithms analyzed symbol frequency, word distribution, character clustering, positional patterns. The results were intriguing. The text behaves statistically like a real language. It follows structural rules. It has consistent internal grammar-like behavior. But AI faced the same wall as humans. Without a reference language, translation remains speculative. Imagine trying to translate a book with no bilingual dictionary, no related texts, and no confirmed vocabulary. Even the smartest machine struggles without context. In recent years, several researchers claimed breakthroughs. One AI study suggested the text might be a compressed form of Hebrew. Another proposed it resembles a Romance language, possibly early Italian or Spanish written without vowels. These claims generated headlines, but peer review found flaws. Assumptions about letter substitution, overfitting of statistical models, selective interpretation of partial matches. In other words, patterns can be found anywhere if you look hard enough. The human brain and artificial intelligence both excel at detecting patterns, but detection does not equal meaning. So the manuscript remains undeciphered, not because we lack tools, but because we lack certainty about what we are decoding. Let's consider a radical possibility. What if the manuscript is written plainly? Not in code, not encrypted, just in a language no longer spoken. History has lost thousands of dialects. Entire linguistic families vanished without written records. If the Voynich manuscript represents a small, localized language recorded only once, then its isolation would explain everything. No parallel texts, no translation keys, no descendants. Just silence. This would make the manuscript not mysterious because it's secret, but because it's alone. And isolation is one of the hardest barriers in linguistics. Modern scholars increasingly revisit one idea introduced earlier in the series. What if the manuscript is a medical text, possibly focused on women's health? The herbal sections, the zodiac-based diagrams, the bathing women connected by fluid systems. In medieval Europe, women's medical knowledge often circulated privately. Midwives and healers preserved knowledge outside formal institutions. If the manuscript was written within such a community, its encoded or unique script might serve as protection. Not from enemies, but from authorities who viewed independent medical practice with suspicion. This theory doesn't require secret societies, it doesn't require hoaxes. It simply requires history to have erased the context. And history erases context more often than we like to admit. Here is the most philosophical possibility. What if the manuscript was intentionally designed to be impenetrable? Not meaningless, not a hoax, but a work whose meaning depends on initiation. Certain medieval traditions valued hidden knowledge. Understanding required mentorship, instruction, or oral transmission. If the key to the manuscript was never written down, then the text alone will never be enough. We are trying to solve half a conversation, and the other half may be permanently lost. You might ask, why does this matter? It's just an old book. But the Voynich manuscript represents something profound. It proves that not all knowledge survives clearly. Not all languages remain accessible. Not all mysteries are solved by technology. In an age where information feels infinite and searchable, this manuscript stands as a quiet rebellion. A reminder that some parts of the human past remain beyond reach, and that uncertainty is part of history. Will we ever read the Voynich manuscript? Maybe a future discovery could reveal a related text, a hidden archive, a bilingual fragment, or perhaps a breakthrough in AI modeling will detect structure we cannot yet perceive. But it is equally possible that we never will. And maybe that's okay. Because the mystery has already achieved something extraordinary. It has connected generations of scholars, dreamers, skeptics, and believers. It has forced us to confront the limits of knowledge. It has reminded us that history is not complete. The book that no one can read continues to speak, not through its words, but through its silence. What? If this journey into the unknown intrigues you, support our channel. Like this video, subscribe for more mysteries, and join the quest for knowledge.